It was just a few months ago that eyes across the province were glued to a live YouTube feed waiting to see a rocket launch from St. Lawrence. The launch got postponed for technical reasons, but the CEO of the company behind the launch, NordSpace, was back in the province recently. I sat down with Rahul Goel to talk about their plans to build a commercial spaceport in St. Lawrence. Rahul Goel, thank you very much for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So it was just a few months ago, we were all glued to the YouTube feed, watching that countdown, hoping to see the rocket launch. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But I guess what is the status now? When do you plan to be back to try another launch?
We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Our first planned launch for 2026 is March. So a continuation of that campaign, that first test flight. And then we'll be back again later that year, 2026, for another flight, and it's just going to keep increasing after that point.
And I guess what lessons have you taken from the previous attempts that hopefully we'll get it over the top and actually get it launched next time?
Oh yeah, we got real close. I mean, it's a very technical activity. I always say it's literal rocket science. So we're working down and working out all the little kinks with the project. You know, at the end of the day, more permanent infrastructure in Newfoundland is what we're looking to develop, and that helps us when little issues come up that we don't have to go all the way back to Ontario. So we're really looking forward to expanding our presence in Newfoundland. That's actually going to be the most important difference this time around.
So I guess just backing up a little bit, tell us a bit about what NordSpace is, what it does.
Yeah, so NordSpace is an end-to-end space missions company. So one of our key focuses is developing sovereign space launch for Canada. So Canada has a very rich history in space, but we've never actually sent our own satellites into orbit before. We've always relied on other nations to do that. We're the only G7 nation that hasn't developed this capability. We're behind several others as well. For the first time now in Canadian history, the federal government has invested in and signaled that sovereign space launch is important. So really great news for us and for Newfoundland. So that's kind of the key of what we're doing, developing this launch capability. And around that, we're developing satellites, our spaceport in St. Lawrence, and satellite systems that do everything from detecting wildfires to monitoring the Arctic.
And why did you choose St. Lawrence as a location?
Well, we wanted to launch over the ocean. We looked at all the different provinces across Canada, and we needed a certain amount of clearance as well from the closest towns to be able to launch medium lift launch vehicles over time. Newfoundland ended up being such a lovely and friendly place to work out of. And then we started looking for locations along the southeast coast so that we can launch eastward. And just happened upon St. Lawrence, and it checked all the boxes. I showed up the next day, and it was beautiful and it worked. So we're very grateful to be here.
You mentioned the fund for sovereign space launch announced in the federal budget, $182.6 million. What does that mean for NordSpace?
Oh, that means so much, and really for so many individuals who've been working for decades to get to this point. You know, this is exactly the catalyst we need in order to develop this capability quickly. There's no question that Canada is, from a launch perspective, behind the eight ball. But this is an opportunity now for us really to catch up and get back into the race, reclaim jobs, IP, tax dollars that we send abroad to launch our assets into space, and reclaim our sovereignty in space and on Earth. So this is huge for NordSpace and for the Canadian space sector and for Canadians overall in so many ways. While
you're in the province, I gather you're meeting with the provincial government as well. What are you talking about with the province?
Well, we're really looking at ways to expand our relationship with the province. The province is looking to grow its aerospace expertise and industry, really tap into the increasing calls for sovereignty and defense, and we're working really hard to make sure that NordSpace is aligned with that and can support the province in those respects. But also working with the province on things like ensuring we're compliant with environmental assessments, regulations, working with the local communities so that we know exactly where the right places are to build everything from, not just the supporting infrastructure for a spaceport, but mission control, working with local contractors, and constantly consulting with local communities to make sure that everyone's really happy and feeling good about the project.
So why does this matter? Like, I guess, some people might argue there are more critical issues for governments to spend their money on. So why does it matter developing our own space launch capability?
Oh, it's so important, and it's such a good question too, because oftentimes, the tricky thing about space is the infrastructure, the satellites, they're invisible, they're up in space, and you kind of don't notice them. You don't see them like roads or power lines or cars and planes and such. But space allows us to operate our lives on Earth every single day, from communication with loved ones to agriculture to the clothes you're going to wear the next day and understand the weather, to our own security and sovereignty, to protecting our wildlife and everything else. We're launching our first satellites next year. They're designed specifically to monitor wildfires, which is of course very important given what Newfoundland went through just a couple months ago. without space and without our own assets in space and being able to get them fast and not have to piggyback and be deprioritized relative to others, Canada can respond to the challenges of our own population. So it's really, really important for Canada to be investing in this. This is not just some final frontier. It's for everyday Canadians, for our economy, for our sovereignty, for everything.
And what do you think the impact could be on Newfoundland and Labrador as you develop this spaceport?
Well, simply put, Newfoundland and Labrador would become the gateway to space for Canada. It would be the first time in Canadian history from Canadian soil that we'd be accessing orbit. And not only is that just such an amazing extension of the legacy of Newfoundland and Labrador, but also it's an opportunity for us in this province to become a catalyst and to become a hub for the space sector at large. Wherever these ports are built, whether they're airports or seaports or anything else, that's where other industry around it coalesces. And this is an opportunity not just to build a technology, but to build real infrastructure. And I think investing in developing infrastructure is a mark of a province, of a country that's thinking ahead and that's really looking to grow.
Obviously, there's federal money available through this new Sovereign Launch Fund. Are you looking for funding from the province as well?
We are looking for some form of collaboration, nothing nearing the federal investments. But naturally, this is a very competitive opportunity, and we've been, in the past talking to a lot of provinces as well. At this point, our hearts are settled on Newfoundland, and we are working with the government to see where such an opportunity may exist. But more importantly, we're really looking for general cooperation and collaboration on all things from the regulatory side to environment to working directly with the town of St. Lawrence.
Are there any particular roadblocks that you're facing as you try and develop this sector?
Well, I mean, there are all kinds of challenges, of course, but really the hardest part is the rocket science. As you saw, it's not easy. But we have a very skilled team with experience ranging from the top aerospace companies in the world, all Canadians looking forward to being back home and building this capability here. So yes, there are roadblocks, but nothing that we're afraid of. It'll take time, it'll take energy, a little bit of patience, and a tremendous amount of support from the province and from Canada, but we're going to get this done.
What's your relationship been like with the people of St. Lawrence on the Burin Peninsula?
Well, after the initial shock of, fishing town, us landing up there and saying we're going to build a spaceport, I'm sure a lot of people thought we were absolutely crazy. But over time, and actually quite quickly, they really warmed up and they opened their doors to us. We're there long nights. We have random people from the town showing up with sandwiches and coffees, taking care of us, really, making us feel part of their community. We do not take that for granted. We're extremely grateful. That community is truly one of the most important and significant reasons that we are in Newfoundland and that we believe we're going to be successful.
Well, Rahul Goel, thank you very much for joining me today.
Absolutely, it was an honor.
And that is it for this week's edition of NTV's Issues and Answers. Thanks for watching and enjoy your weekend.